Learners, I welcome you all to the lesson 15, My Vision for India of secondary level English. Speeches and addresses given by national leaders of the country, especially given on the occasion of national days such as Independence Day or Republic Day, are meant to inform the nation about what the country has achieved so far and what is aimed for future. Through their speeches, they inform us about the new initiatives taken by our government towards keeping the momentum of development ongoing. Leaders are visionary. They are elected by the people of the nation, which entrusts them with the responsibility of taking the right initiatives in the larger interest of the nation. They are also called servants of the nation because they need to understand the problems, find ways to solve them, and work towards fulfillment of the greater aspirations of a nation and its people. Coming to the objectives, learners, after completing this lesson, you will be able to appreciate the former President Dr. Kalam's vision for India, identify an individual's role in India's development, use identical pair of words having different meanings in sentence of your own, use modals appropriately, and write a descriptive paragraph. Learners, Abdul Kalam was a scientist and engineer who served the nation as President of India from 2002 to 2007. He was born in Rameshwaram, Tamil Nadu on 15th October 1931 and died on 27 July 2015 while giving a lecture in Shillong. He was the youngest of the 5 children born to a Muslim boat owner named Jainul Abdin and his wife Ashiamma. His ancestors had once been wealthy traders, though his family lost much of its fortunes by the early 20th century. Kalam grew up in humble surroundings and had to take up a job while he was still in school in order to augment his family's meager income. After his schooling, Kalam went on to study aerospace engineering in Madras Institute of Technology. His initial dream was to become a fighter pilot, but he failed to qualify for the exam of Indian Air Force. He then started working at the Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO as a scientist and was later transferred to the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO. Eventually, he was appointed as the chief scientific advisor to the Prime Minister, and in this position, he played a key role in the Pokhran-2 nuclear tests. He was the first scientist to occupy the Rashtrapati Bhavan as President of India in 2002. He left the office after serving one term and became professor of aerospace engineering at Anna University and a visiting professor at several other institutions. Learners, coming to the gist of the lesson, which is My Vision for India, this lesson is a part of a speech given by our former President APJ Abdul Kalam. In his address, the former president gives us a brief glimpse of what India's past has been during the past 3,000 years. India was invaded by various countries and communities. Each time, the invaders looted our riches, wealth, culture, learning, etc., and deeply impacted our minds. He tells us how to value freedom and preserve it. In his speech, he gives us 3 visions which he has for India. The first one is his vision for freedom. Unless we are free, we are not respected. The second one visualizes development. Each one of us, be it a child or an adult, wishes to be a citizen of a developed India. He feels that we Indians have not learned to take pride in the achievements made by our country. India had recorded a 10% growth in GDP, which was the highest a country could achieve, and we are one of the 5 nations to do so. Yet we always underrated our country and saw others superior to us. The third one stresses on the fact that both economic and military strength is required to build a strong and prosperous nation. As a scientist, Kalam feels he owes much to people he worked with and feels he is lucky to have got the opportunity to work with Vikram Sarabhai. Satish Dhawan and Brahma Prakash, all eminent scientists who did the nation proud in the field of space and nuclear sciences. By saying so, he is indirectly telling us about the riches of human resources we have in India and that one must have the humility to acknowledge their great works. Finally, he echoes the sentiments of John Kennedy, which he expressed in his inaugural address to his nation, that each citizen should ask what he can do for the nation and not what the nation can do for him. Kalam also tries to place the individual above the nation and tries to explain what each one of us need to do rather than sit and complain or curse government or people in different departments. A nation is made up of individuals, and those that hold different portfolios are first citizens of India and then whatever status they hold. Learners, now read the lesson part 1, 15.2.1. Read from the lines, I have, two will respect us. In this section, Kalam tries to explain his first vision for India and explains how we lost our freedom time and again. He advises that we keep our freedom and develop our country, for if you are not free, no one will respect us. At the outset, Kalam says that he has three visions for India. As we all know, President Kalam was a visionary and a scientist. He wanted India to become a leader in every way, so he talks about shaping India for future. He first talks about the past 3,000 years. During these years, India has been invaded by various tribes and countries. Every time we were invaded by invaders, tried to not just capture our land, but also tried to conquer our minds and change our mindset. From Alexander onwards, the Greeks, the Turks, the Mughals, the Portuguese, the British, the French and the Dutch all came, looted our country and took over what belonged to us as Indians. Despite experiencing this, we Indians never tried to invade any country and loot them. We have never grabbed any land, nor have we tried to change the culture of country, of any nation. In short, we have never tried to force our way of life on them. Kalam explains why it is so. According to him, India respects the freedom and culture of other countries, and hence we have not tried to conquer or grab anyone's land so that we could rule them or expand our territories. In the light of this background, Kalam talks about his first vision. His first vision is that of freedom. According to him, Indians saw their first vision of freedom in the year 1857. Learners, why 1857? In 1857, we fought our first war of independence against the colonial rule of the British. We need to understand the importance of freedom, and we should protect it, nurture it, and build upon it so that we can make a strong India. Kalam gives a very valuable piece of advice over here. He says that if we are not free, then no one will respect us. Learners, let's come to the part 2, 15.2.2, and you may read from the lines, we have two terms of GDP. In this section, Kalam spells out his second vision. He goes on to explain what India has been able to achieve so far. The economic condition of the country at the time he wrote this article was showing a 10% growth in most areas of economic activities. At that time, he said, our poverty levels are falling. The world has begun to recognize India and give it a place of respect. The world has recognized us, but we Indians are not ready to accept and proclaim that we see ourselves as a developed nation which is self-reliant and self-assured. We still lack the self-confidence in ourselves. This, according to him, is incorrect. Hence, his second vision for India is development. At the time he wrote this article, India had been free for 50 years. He says for 50 years we were developing and therefore called a developing nation, and now it is time we saw ourselves as a developed nation. At the time, India was recording a 10% GDP growth and therefore ranked amongst the top 5 countries which had recorded similar growth. Learners, let's come to part number 3, 15.2.3, and you may read from the lines, I have a third vision, 2, opportunity of my life. In this section, Kalam spells out his third vision for India. According to his third vision of India, he felt that every Indian ought to stand up boldly before the world. Till we stand up to the world, no one will respect us. Only a strong nation will be recognized because strength recognizes strength. Hence, we have to emerge before the world as a strong nation. To be a strong nation, we need both military and economic strength. The first gives a military might to fight off any intruder, and economic strength must be able to empower everyone. A poor nation cannot be military strong. Hence, both military and economic strength is important. They go hand in hand and should not be taken as separate entities. He recalls his working with India's 3 great minds, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai of Department of Science, Professor Satish Dhawan, who succeeded him, and Dr. Brahma Prakash, father of nuclear material. Vikram Ambalal Sarabhai was an Indian scientist and innovator widely regarded as the father of Indian space program. Sarabhai received the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Medal in 1962. Coming to Satish Dhawan, he was an Indian aerospace engineer widely recognized as the father of experimental fluid dynamics research in India. He was born in Srinagar. Dhawan was educated in India and further on in United States. Dr. Brahm Prakash is largely remembered in the country and abroad for his contributions in metallurgy. For ISRO, he was the first director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center who inducted a vibrant culture in the center. Professor Brahm Prakash was born on August 21st, 1912 in Lahore. Learners, let's come to part 4, 15.2.4, and you may read from the lines, I was in Hyderabad, to Western countries are today. Having spelled out his 3 visions for India, APJ Abdul Kalam talks about a lecture which he was giving one day at Hyderabad. He says that when he was lecturing about his visions in Hyderabad, a young 14-year-old girl came up to him and requested him for an autograph. He asked her what she wanted to become when she grew up. Her reply was very satisfying. She said she wanted to live in a developed country. So, for the sake of all children and our children who wish to live in a developed country, it becomes important for people like us to create such an India for the next generation. Let everyone know that we are no longer underdeveloped country. We are very much developed nation. If we do not proclaim it ourselves, we will never believe that we live in a developed India. If we don't do that, then our next generation will also grow up to believe that our country is still underdeveloped. Turning towards the youth and in fact every citizen of India, he asks a pointed question. Each one of us finds fault with everything we see and is seen complaining all the time. For instance, we blame our government as being inefficient, we say that our laws are old, we say our phones are not working, we are unhappy with our railway system and call it a joke. We say our airlines are the most inefficient and worst in the world. We complain that our mails, letters do not reach on time, hence the postal department is inefficient. We do not hesitate to say that our government is down in the pits and that it has gone to the dogs. We are so unhappy with our country, its government and its people who are serving in different departments. If this is so, then what can we do about it? In reply to this question, Kalam echoes the sentiments expressed by President J.F. Kennedy in his inaugural address to his nation. Kennedy was a famous president of America, remember. He had said, "My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Turning his words around, Kalam asks each Indian to ask what we can do for our country, for India, and do what has to be done to make India what America and other Western countries are today. After all, a country is made by its citizens and not a few people sitting in government or other departments. Each one of us should take on the responsibility of doing things together instead of sitting in a chair and complaining or blaming someone. Coming to the summary of the lesson, in this lesson, President Kalam has spelled out 3 visions for India if we want India to be a developed nation. His first vision is freedom. Without remaining free, no nation can develop. He reminds us that in the last 3,000 years, we have been invaded many times and each time by an outsider who came, not only looted us, plundered our wealth, but also tried impacting our culture by changing our mindset. It is only when we are free that we can build a strong nation. His second vision concerns development. He reminds Indians that India's economic growth has been recorded at 10%, which is an ideal measure of one's economy. Besides India, there are only 4 more countries which can boast of this rate. If we are amongst the top 5 countries, then how we are not ready to accept it ourselves? Why do we lack the confidence to say so? The world has recognized us as developed, but we underrate ourselves and keep calling ourselves as underdeveloped. His third vision is that of economic and military strength. Both need to grow hand in hand. Only then we can preserve our freedom. Military might is required to keep enemy at bay, and economic security for a nation is very important. Only then our country and its people can become rich, strong, and empowered. Finally, he gives an example of a girl who approached him for an autograph at Hyderabad, where he was giving a lecture. He asked the girl what her goal in life is. She answered by saying that she would like to live in a developed country. Kalam is rather shocked at hearing this. The child is not at fault. When grown-up citizens of India lack the courage to admit that they are living in a developed country, then how can we expect our children to share the same belief? All that we have done so far in the last 50 years since independence is to indulge in blame game, criticize everyone, and pass derogatory remarks about our country. He reminds the nation that it is the duty of every Indian to ask himself what he or she can do for India, rather shift the responsibility on someone else. Indians need to first acknowledge that they are living in a developed country. When our own faith is strong, we will not let others make us believe that we are like dogs. We will live with pride just as citizens of other developed countries do. Let's come to the section vocabulary building. The first word is vision. Vision means a dream, a goal. Second word, invaded. Invaded means attacked. Third word is grabbed. Grabbed means took hold of. Fourth word is enforce. Enforce means to put in force. Next word is nurture, which means take care of. Next word is lack, which means not have. Next word is self-reliant, which means independent. Self-assured means confident. Proclaim means declare. Inefficient means incompetent. Garbage means rubbish. Learners, let's come to the section grammar. What is homophone? The word homophone is used to describe a word that sounds the same as another word, but that has a different meaning. It comes from the Greek words homo, meaning same, and phone, meaning voice. The two words may be spelled differently, but adding some difficulty, they can also be spelled the same. The potential for confusion for native and non-native speakers alike is unfortunately great. Coming to homophone, all words and phrases that sound the same but have different meanings. Homograph, words that sound and are spelled the same but have different meanings. Homonym, words that have the same spelling but a different meaning. Heterograph, words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. Multinym, words that sound the same but have more than two different meanings and spellings. On the subject of multinyms, it may surprise you to learn that in English there is one instance of a multinym with no fewer than 7 variations, all sounding the same but meaning different things. There is also one instance of 6 variants, 2 of 5, 24 of 4, and 88 of 3. Some of the variants are archaic words. Archaic are old words that are not used anymore. So you need not concern yourself with them. Let's come to the common examples of homophones. Homophones are those words which you are likely to meet with in either day-to-day conversations or in your academic work. There are too many to include all of them, but these examples should at least help you with some of them and stand as a warning that English language has plenty of pitfalls for you to be aware of. For example, there, there. The first one's spelling is T-H-E-R-E. The second one, T-H-E-I-R. The third one, T-H-E-Y''R-E. Again, even native English speakers get this one wrong. So don't beat yourself up if you are struggling with it. The first, there, T-H-E-R-E, refers to a place that is not here. For instance, over there. It can also be used to state something such as there is an argument to suggest or to comfort someone. There it'll be all right. The second there, their, indicates possession, something belonging to them. For example, we could use their boat. This indicates possession, something belonging to them. The third, they are, they', it is a shortening of they are. For example, they are going to be here at 12 p.m. Next example, your. The first your is your. The second your is you''re. This has to be one of the most commonly confused aspects of the English language, and the fact that so many people get it wrong is a pet hate of every grammar purist. The first your, your, is the second person possessive form, indicating something belonging to you. For example, this is your decision. So this is your. The second your, you''re, it is the short form of you are. For example, you're amazing. Next example, by. The first by is by, the second by is buy, and the third by is bye. Another one on the list of commonly confused words. The first, by, this preposition refers to something beside, near, or through. For example, there is an ice cream van over there by that tree. So by that tree, near that tree, beside that tree. So this by indicates beside, refers to something beside, near, or through. Bui, this is a verb meaning to purchase something. For example, let's go and buy a car. Buy. The next by, bye, short for goodbye. This is an expression used to bid someone farewell. Next example, resign and resign. This one is a little tougher. These two words have identical spellings except for the hyphen and opposite meanings. The first, resign, has no hyphen. The second has hyphen between re and sign. Sign without the hyphen means to quit your job, and there is pronounced like a Z. Resign, it becomes resign. So the sign which we speak becomes resign. Zine. It has a pronunciation of Z. For example, my boss didn't want to increase my salary, so I decided to resign. This will be my last week of work. So over here, the pronunciation of SIGN would be like Zine, and it has a pronunciation of Z over there. Coming to resign with the hyphen means to sign a contract again or sign something again, and it is usually used where you have decided to stay in your current job. In resign, re-sign, the S is pronounced as an S. So in the previous occasion, the S was pronounced as Z. Over here, when we are including a hyphen between re and sign, this sign is pronounced, the S is pronounced as S only, and you emphasize the first syllable. For example, I love my current job, so I happily resigned for another year. So it was resign previously, and this is resigned. Coming to advice and advise. With these words, we have similar spellings, similar meanings, and only a slight difference in pronunciation. In advice, with an S sound, it is a noun. You can give your friend some advice. It has sa sound, S sound in advice, ADVICE. For example, my father gave me one piece of advice. Always be on time. So this is advice. The second one, advise. With a Z sound, it is a verb. With this word, you can advise your friend. The meaning of two words is basically the same. She advised me to invest my money more carefully. So the first one has sa pronunciation, the second one has za pronunciation, that is Z. Disinterested and uninterested. Many native speakers use these two words with the same meaning, bored or not interested. That's certainly the meaning of uninterested, but it's not the meaning of disinterested. The real meaning of disinterested is being impartial, objective, and not taking a side in an argument. A judge hearing a court case should be disinterested, but definitely not uninterested. In uninterested, you are not interested in the whole issue. But in disinterested, you are objective and impartial. For example, the children wanted to play outside and were very uninterested in doing any studying. Second example, sometimes a stranger can make a disinterested and fair decision more easily than a family member. So disinterested over here is being impartial and objective. Learners, try to know the differences and don't get confused. Knowing the differences makes it easier to avoid mistakes, especially when you're speaking English. Most people won't notice if you mix up these similar sounds. But when you are writing, you should look out for those words and be careful that you are using the correct form. Learners, remember to double check your spelling and think about the situation you are in. Did you say something nice to someone? That was a compliment, compliment. It means to express admiration, and not compliment, complement. That means to complete or make a whole. The first one is a compliment which has PLI. The second one has PLE in the spelling. So you should be aware of the difference. Notice whether you are resigning from the job or are you resigning. Being aware of the differences in the context can help you avoid mistakes. Learners, I hope you understood the above section. Let's come to the modals. Modals, also called modal verbs, modal auxiliaries, are special verbs which behave irregularly in English. They are different from normal verbs like work, play, visit, etc. They give additional information about the function of the main verb that follows it. They have a great variety of communicative functions. For example, you can't add s, ed, or ing to these modals. They never change their form. They are always followed by an infinitive without to. They are used to indicate modality, allowing speakers to express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, ability. Some modal verbs are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must. The verbs or expressions dare, ought to, had better, and need not behave like modal auxiliaries to a large extent and may be added to the said list. Modal verbs are used to express functions as permission, ability, obligation, prohibition, lack of necessity, advice, possibility, probability. For example, they can go to the movie now. Can, modal verb. Could I use your mobile phone? Could, again. He will complete the project in 2 days. Will, modal. Would you mind giving me a ride to the nearest station? Would, modal. We must follow safety rules. Must, modal. In the said sentences, the underlined words are all modals. For example, will, would. Express, making predictions. This child will be a great scientist one day. Persuasion, the doctor said he would operate on the patient immediately. Obligation, you must report the theft to the police immediately. Duty, you must use your right to vote. It must be noted that could or would also express politeness in one's speech. Learners, let's come to the descriptive paragraph section. The purpose of descriptive writing is to make our readers see, feel, and hear what we have seen, felt, and heard. Whether we are describing a person, a place, or a thing, our aim is to reveal a subject through vivid, carefully arranged details. Two common forms of description are character sketch or profile and the place description. Let me tell you 3-step method for organizing a descriptive paragraph. Number 1, Begin the paragraph with a topic sentence that actually identifies your prized belonging and briefly explains its significance to you. Next, describe the item in 4 or 5 sentences using the details that you have listed after probing your topic. Number 3, finally, conclude the paragraph with a sentence that emphasizes the personal value of the item. There are various ways to organize the details in a descriptive paragraph. You may move from the top of the item to the bottom, or from bottom to the top. You may start at the left side of the item and move right, or go from right to left. You may start with the outside of the item and then move in, or go inside to move out. Choose one pattern that seems best suited to your topic and then stick to that pattern throughout the paragraph. Learners, do the exercise 15.4 writing descriptive paragraph of the lesson where information about Dr. Rajendra Prasad is given. Learners, now at the end of the lesson, let me conclude, and there are certain points to ponder. Learners, freedom is essential for growth and development. As you know, India has been looted and plundered by invaders from the West many times. Each time invaders looted material wealth and also our culture and pattern of thinking. India has reached a GDP of 10%, which makes us part of the exclusive 5 countries which have been able to achieve this target. Despite all this, we Indians do not acknowledge that we are part of the developed country. To get respect from others, we need to respect ourselves first. A free, strong, independent and developed nation must be strong economically. A strong military will protect our borders and keep the enemy at bay. An economically strong country teaches its citizens to live with pride. It is the dream of every citizen to be able to live in a stable, rich, prosperous and developed India. Indians tend to criticize and blame others for whatever lapses they see anywhere. At such a moment, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam takes inspiration from President Kennedy's words in his inaugural address. Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. The onus for maintaining freedom, development and confidence lies with each and every citizen and not a chosen few sitting in different departments. If we all do our work well, there is no reason why we should fail. Learners, I hope that you have understood the lesson well. Each lesson of secondary level English needs your undivided attention before writing the exam. Best of luck. Thanks.